The infamous statement that the end justifies the means led to the banning of the prince and cemented Niccolò Machiavelli's reputation as one of history's most morally controversial and ruthless figures. In 1539, Reginald Pole even went so far as to declare Machiavelli the enemy of the human race. Machiavelli advised rulers not to focus on what was morally right, but on what was practical and effective. He argued that sometimes pursuing evil was necessary to achieve one's objectives, and ethical considerations should not stand in the way of securing power. Whether it meant massacring entire families, including children, or using deception and manipulation to protect the state, no method was off limits if it served the ruler's purpose. Beneath this dark, almost sinister philosophy, however, lies an uncomfortable truth about human nature. Machiavelli exposed the brutal realities of power and success. Though harsh, his teachings offer valuable insights that can be applied in various aspects of life to achieve success. What led Niccolò Machiavelli to develop his philosophy? Niccolò Machiavelli was born on May 3, 1469, in Florence, Italy, a time of great political instability and violence. Italy was not a unified country, but a fragmented collection of city-states like Florence, Venice, Milan, Naples, and the Papal States, each constantly vying for power. These city-states were frequently at war, not only with one another but also with foreign powers like France and Spain, both of which sought to dominate Italian territories. In Florence, political violence was a fact of life. The powerful Medici family, who had long ruled the city, was expelled in 1494, leading to a brief and unstable republican government. Machiavelli grew up witnessing intense rivalries between powerful families and mercenary armies that were available to the highest bidder, further fueling the chaos. His political career began in 1498, shortly after the execution of the Dominican friar Girolamo Savonarola, who had briefly taken control of Florence. On May 24th of that year, Savonarola was hanged as a heretic, and his body was burned in the public square. Just days later, at the age of 29, Machiavelli emerged from obscurity and became the head of the Second Chancery, a position that put him in charge of Florence's foreign affairs and its subject territories. Interestingly, he was influenced by Savonarola's leadership style and even referenced him in The Prince. The broader context of Machiavelli's life was shaped by the Italian Wars, where France and Spain battled for control over the Italian peninsula. These wars brought widespread devastation, economic hardship, and political upheaval, leaving a lasting impression on Machiavelli's understanding of power and governance. In 1512, Florence's republican government fell, and the Medici family returned to power. Machiavelli was accused of conspiracy against them, leading to his imprisonment, torture, and eventual exile from Florence. This first-hand experience of political instability, frequent overthrows of rulers, and the brutal realities of war inspired him to write his most famous works, The Prince and Discourses on Livy, around 1513. Interestingly, The Prince was originally intended as a gift to Lorenzo de' Medici in hopes of regaining favor with the powerful Medici family after Machiavelli's political downfall. Although the book is often associated with ruthless pragmatism and political cunning, it also explores broader themes such as leadership, the role of fortune, the necessity of adaptability, and the complexities of human nature, qualities Machiavelli believed were essential for anyone in power. His ultimate goal was to secure the state's survival through power that surpassed all rivals. How exactly did he propose achieving that? That's what we'll be exploring next. A cynical view of humanity. Machiavelli had a bleak perspective on human nature, which is evident in his famous assertion. It can be said of men in general that they are ungrateful, fickle, hypocritical, and deceitful, avoiders of danger and greedy for gain. As long as you benefit them, they are entirely yours, offering their blood, their goods, their lives, even their children. But when you are in need, they turn away. This sentiment forms the foundation of his philosophy on power. Machiavelli's seemingly ruthless strategies for acquiring and maintaining control were deeply rooted in his understanding of people, not through the lens of morality, but through the lens of realism. He believed that humans are inherently selfish, hypocritical, and driven by greed. Because of this, leaders should not rely on moral ideals, but should instead act in ways that serve their own interests. His disillusionment with human nature was shaped in part by the prominent figures of his time, especially Pope Alexander VI. Born Rodrigo Borgia in 1431, Alexander VI epitomized corruption and deceit. As Pope from 1492 to 1503, he was notorious for prioritizing his family's ambitions over his spiritual responsibilities. His reign was marked by ruthless political maneuvering, nepotism, and deception, all designed to expand the power of the Papal States. He shamelessly favored his children, Cesare and Lucrezia Borgia, and even used excommunication as a political weapon to eliminate his enemies. Seeing such behavior from the highest religious authority in the world reinforced Machiavelli's view that morality and politics were often incompatible. If even the Pope, a supposed beacon of virtue, was willing to manipulate, deceive, and betray for power, then how could rulers afford to be any different? Machiavelli concluded that because human nature is deceitful and self-serving, rulers should always assume that others are plotting against them. Trust no one and you will never be blindsided. As one darkly humorous saying puts it, if people throw stones at you, throw back bread with a grenade inside. For Machiavelli, success required embracing a cynical view of humanity. By expecting the worst in others, one could protect themselves from betrayal and disappointment. In his mind, power was not maintained through kindness or trust, but by understanding and exploiting the darker aspects of human nature. But if people are as cruel and unpredictable as Machiavelli believed, how does a ruler control them? That brings us to the next crucial question. Is it better to be feared or loved? Fear over love. Is it better to be loved rather than feared or feared rather than loved? Machiavelli posed this question and immediately answered it. One should wish to be both, but since love and fear can rarely exist together, if we must choose, it is far safer to be feared than loved. For Machiavelli, love is unreliable. People are fickle. Today they love you, tomorrow they may turn against you. Love is conditional, dependent on personal benefits, and can fade the moment circumstances change. However, fear is a much more enduring force. Once instilled, fear remains in people's hearts, ensuring loyalty even in difficult times. To achieve this lasting control, Machiavelli argued that a ruler must be willing to use severe punishments when necessary to maintain order. He cited historical examples to support his claim, notably Cesare Borgia. Cesare Borgia was ruthless but effective. He unified and stabilized the Romagna region through a combination of fear and respect. His brutal yet decisive methods prevented rebellion and secured his power. In Machiavelli's eyes, Borgia's rule exemplified how fear, when used wisely, could be a powerful political tool. While these methods may seem harsh, Machiavelli was primarily concerned with one thing: the security of the state. He believed that if harsh measures were required to maintain stability, then they were justified. A leader's responsibility is not to be loved but to ensure the survival of their government. This philosophy leads directly into Machiavelli's concept of reason of state. People should either be caressed or crushed. If you do them minor harm, they will seek revenge. But if you destroy them completely, they can do nothing. This is one of Machiavelli's most controversial ideas, the belief that when harming an enemy, a ruler must do so in a way that leaves no possibility of retaliation. This philosophy contributed to the prince being banned for centuries, as it directly opposed traditional moral and religious teachings. Machiavelli had seen his homeland, Florence, suffer under a series of weak and ineffective rulers, all of whom were overthrown due to their inability to maintain power. From these experiences, he concluded that to secure the state, a ruler must sometimes act beyond conventional morality. Whether through deception, cruelty, or violence, a leader must do whatever is necessary to maintain control and protect the state from internal and external threats. One of Machiavelli's core pieces of advice was to surround oneself with competent and loyal advisors. As he put it, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. However, he also recognized that even with wise counsel, there would be situations requiring drastic action. A ruler must ensure that any harm done to potential enemies is so severe that they are incapable of seeking revenge. Partial measures only invite retaliation. Machiavelli's political philosophy was radical because he separated politics from theology. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he rejected the idea that rulers should govern according to religious morals. While he acknowledged religion's value in maintaining social order, he believed that moral or religious considerations should never dictate political decisions. This rejection of traditional ethics, particularly those of thinkers like Thomas Aquinas, made the prince highly controversial. For Machiavelli, the state itself was sacred. A ruler's primary duty was to preserve it at all costs, even if that meant abandoning conventional morality. Be both fox and lion. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. With this metaphor, Machiavelli argues that a successful ruler must possess both cunning and strength. The fox represents intelligence, adaptability, and deception. A ruler must be able to recognize political dangers and navigate complex situations with subtlety and strategic thinking. The lion symbolizes power, force, and the ability to command respect. When deception is not enough, a leader must be strong enough to eliminate threats decisively. Machiavelli was pragmatic. He understood that not all problems could be solved through brute force. If a ruler can win through deception rather than battle, that is the preferable route. He recognized that most people are driven by immediate desires, making them easy to manipulate. Because of this, a cunning leader can exploit human nature to maintain power. This idea underscores Machiavelli's deep understanding of psychology. People believe what is convenient for them. An effective ruler must recognize this and use it to their advantage. However, deception and manipulation require a delicate balance. If overused or miscalculated, they can lead to downfall. Good men won't go far. Machiavelli believed that virtuous leaders, while noble, would struggle to succeed in the harsh realities of political life. He advocated for pragmatism and adaptability, arguing that a ruler must be willing to set aside moral codes when necessary to maintain power. To rule effectively, one must be willing to act boldly, take risks, and even make morally questionable decisions. In Machiavelli's view, politics is a ruthless game, and a leader constrained by ethical ideals will inevitably be overthrown by someone willing to do whatever it takes to stay in power. Because of this, he was skeptical of leaders who relied on moral principles alone. He believed they would hesitate when extreme measures were needed to secure the stability of the state. This philosophy aligns with Friedrich Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch, an individual who creates their own values and is not bound by conventional morality. Similarly, Machiavelli argued that a ruler must be self-sufficient, with their primary loyalty being to the state. If a leader allows morality to constrain their actions, they may lose the power necessary to protect their people. What's wrong with Machiavelli? While Machiavelli's ideas offer valuable insights into political survival and human nature, they come at a cost. His emphasis on ruling through fear, manipulation, and brute force often neglects the rights and well-being of individuals. Machiavelli's work is centered on the preservation of the state, often at the expense of the people within it. His rejection of morality in politics sets a dangerous precedent, where the ends justify the means, potentially leading to oppression and instability in the long run. A ruler who governs without a sense of justice or humanity risks alienating the very people they are meant to lead. While fear and power can secure authority, a government that lacks trust and goodwill may ultimately collapse under its own weight. Additionally, Machiavelli underestimates the role of religion, which has historically played a crucial part in shaping societies and guiding rulers. While he saw religion as a tool for control, he overlooked its deeper significance in providing unity, ethical guidance, and a moral foundation for governance. Machiavelli's strategies might be effective in specific situations, but his rejection of moral principles and human rights can lead to a cold and ruthless form of governance. His teachings should be approached with caution. Absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own.